Hi, I'm Peter Brusso for 101 Small Business Mastermind, and I have with me today one of my good friends, Stephen Hunter. Say good morning, Steve.
Good morning, people.
And we have Sam Rabinowitz with us from Drivyn. Say good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Peter. Nice to
All
be
right.
here.
All right, good. Well, we want to find all about Drivyn, what the heck that is, and as a small business startup. Um, Sam, tell us about what your vision was. How did you end up getting to the point where you actually qualified everything and then got the ball rolling? We'll talk about where it's all going and all that stuff in a bit. But how did you get the vision for Drivyn? What is it?
Well, I'm somewhat of a technocrat, and I've always wanted a Tesla since it came out, and I finally got one a couple of years ago. I actually got it for my wife, and we were told when it was going to be delivered that it could be delivered to our house, or we can go over to Portland and pick it up there at that place that they'll be able to actually give us some training. Therefore, if I decide to pick it up for them to deliver it at the house, I've kind of figured I really wouldn't get much training. If I went to Portland, we would. So we ended up making a trip of it. We actually drove halfway, took the train from Bend, Oregon to Portland, Oregon. It's about a four-hour trip from our house. And we came into the Tesla dealership. Really nice. Everybody was wonderful. They were really busy. Apparently they churn out about 50 Teslas a day from that place.
Wow.
So waited about half an hour, got to meet our salesperson who showed us our car. It was actually still plugged in. They were charging it up still, and got us in, set up our phones basically, and said, have fun. Okay, so
that was all the training you got?
That was basically it. So maybe a couple more little things, but I say it was about 15 minutes. My wife says about 5 minutes. So it was very, very fast. So I took it out of the garage, and I said, okay, honey, it's your car. Go ahead and take it for a spin. And she said, absolutely not. And so I ended up driving us to the train station about 2 hours south, and just testing things out. Was very kind of mellow with it, driving just like I would a regular car. And we got to the end of the train station, picked up my car. I love my 4Runner. I've got a beautiful 4Runner. And so I said, okay, sweetheart, it's your turn. And she said, I'm not driving this thing. And so she ended up taking my car, which she hardly ever drives, so she didn't even know how to drive that one. But she felt more comfortable with that. My wife took the 4Runner, I took the Tesla, and I just loved it. I was just amazed, but I was scared. We got the full self-driving. We got the full self-driving package, and which was another, at the time, $7,000 or $6,000 if I remember right. And I was going to test it out. So I went ahead and put it into the full self-driving mode. And I'll tell you, it was pretty nerve-wracking. Even though I do like trying new things out, it was pretty nerve-wracking. But I was determined that in the next 2 hours, me driving it, I'm gonna get to know this thing. So over time, I kind of felt more comfortable. I started feeling the vehicle. I started understanding what it was able to respond to appropriately. There were some things that it wasn't perfect on, but overall, I was fairly comfortable with it. It was pretty much freeway driving, so I kind of got the feel of it. So it took me about 2 hours to kind of get the hang of it, get the feeling of it. And so to make a long story short, I know we have only an hour. Over the next year, I became really comfortable with it. I loved it, and I would say that probably 85-90% of my freeway driving was on autopilot, the full self-driving package, which isn't really a full self-driving. You really have to obviously be attentive and make sure that it actually is doing what it's supposed to do. But my wife was still apprehensive even after a year's time, and I wanted to show her a few tricks and a few things to look for. And I looked at it as really looking and understanding the instruments and the environment around you more than just understanding the vehicle and how to drive the vehicle. You want to focus on the instrumentation because a vehicle does a lot of the computations that we would normally do. And so we don't have to do that anymore. We can focus on the important things, like what are the major issues and what are the major things you want to make sure that the car doesn't go off the cliff, the car doesn't hit a truck as the curve comes in and you're speeding up towards the truck going uphill because the truck slows down, you're speeding up, going up a hill, and if there's a curve, kind of feel like you're heading right towards that truck. So how to feel comfortable with that? And so over time she got better and better, and then we drove a friend of ours around showing her the Tesla, and she was really interested in it, and I was kind of pointing out some of the neat things about it, and she said, well, it kind of looks pretty complex to learn, and I came back with, it's just like your cell phone. There's just a lot of things, but over time you kind of can learn how to use it and get used to it, and it's really amazing once you do. And she said, yeah, but this is my life. I'm not going to learn on this thing, while I'm playing with my life and my kids' life and my family's life. And so that's when it hit me. People need training. This is a wonderful vehicle. It has so much to it as far as safety, as far as all the features, and it actually makes your driving more enjoyable. It makes it like you don't have to speed to get to where you want to be because it's comfortable. You don't need to speed anymore, and so it's such a relaxing atmosphere that I think everybody should be able to enjoy it in the way it's meant to be enjoyed, and driven it like the way it was meant to be driven.
That's great. You then decided to build a business around this. Let's talk about that. Obviously, you did a business plan. You had to go do, figure out a bunch of stuff to put in the business plan to show that, in fact, you believed at the time, I think, that people need training, but we weren't quite completely sure that you needed training. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a passionate entrepreneur, and I've always I love creating things that are needed to help people out, and I'm also somewhat of a technocrat, so I've had some businesses on the internet circle as well, and it felt natural to me to just bring it together. The model that we have is a model that's really never been done in this environment, and I was just really excited about it. I had the vision. I didn't know if this was real. We did go out and we did some surveys, and we went to charge stations, and we talked to people and asked them a number of questions about their driving and if they're using full self-driving package or if they're using the autopilot. And I was really amazed that a number of people didn't have it. Probably, I think it was somewhere in the 75th percent of people didn't have it. Many of them thought it was just too expensive for what it does. And about 28% of people just said that it's not ready for prime time. So about a third of the people that purchased their Teslas, and everybody loved their Teslas, thought that it wasn't ready for prime time. And when we asked them, would you consider taking a full self-driving course if it was available, over 50% of the people said that they would. and even more so, out of those people that said they wouldn't, said that they would definitely recommend a course for their spouse and their children if they were driving. So right there, that told us that yes, people are interested. There's a need for this, and so we went out and started the business. We started developing a software package, and we got a team together, and we went through our business plan and initiated all the things in our business plan. And we've proved out every aspect, except now we still have one more to prove.
Very good. What is a charging station for those listeners that don't know what that is?
Oh, of course. So a Tesla obviously runs on batteries, and it has about a 300-mile range. So if you're traveling long distance, so if you don't have a home charger, you basically go to these charge stations that are located maybe every 100 miles or so along the path, the ways, along the freeways. Where we live, it's always easy to find a charging station, and they're superchargers, so they charge the Tesla very quickly, and we usually just take a little break, maybe get some coffee, get some lunch, and then we go right back and go on our trip.
Yeah, it turns out there's a whole business around these charging stations now. Yeah, the restaurants are popping up all around the charging stations because you have 30 minutes of downtime. You might as well go to the bathroom, go eat, do this and that. So it's almost like a parasitic entrepreneurship hovering around these charging stations.
Well, interestingly enough, they were smart enough to put charging stations near restaurants and near places where people can actually go out and do things. And as we drive around, we see signs, Tesla owners, 10% off. So you're right, there's a whole market around this. Cool. And yeah. And, it was really interesting. Initially, we were very hesitant how people would think of us when we would walk up to them at a charging station. But we were hardly ever turned down. And just if somebody was already finished maybe charging, they needed to go, they would just take our information and they said they would do it later. But everybody was just so nice.
So one question about the charging stations, since it takes half an hour, is there any problem with not having enough spots? All the spots are taken?
We haven't found that. I think there was one occasion where maybe there was a little waiting line, maybe 5-10 minutes. But in general, I think they picked out the good number of stations per charging unit per charging area. So usually there's not an issue with that. Over time, there will be more and more, but they're building more and more superchargers, and also other companies are doing it as well. And if you need to charge and you don't have a Tesla charging station available, there's actually adapters that you can hook on to be able to fit into your Tesla as well. So you can use other people's charging stations as well.
One thing that I think I noticed, and tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, the supercharging stations are all solar driven and with a battery bank. So no matter what happens to coal or anything else where the energy is going up in price and price and price and price, if you consider yourself around these other charging stations, it's pretty even, the cost of electricity. Is that true?
It's partially true. I think they're building more and more of those solar stations, and especially the charging stations that have maybe 30 or 40 or 50 charging stalls. They're making ones, large ones. There's one in San Joaquin Valley that's they just opened up that's completely solar. I'm not sure how many stations they have, but it's probably about 50. But most of them still right now are hooked to the grid. But they're certainly working on that, and that's where it's heading, of course.
Mm-hmm. So back to your business. So you pull together some core individuals. How do you plan to launch your business, which I think is launched tomorrow? I think. What's your strategy play to introduce yourself and get customers?
Well, we actually have a soft launch on Monday, which is tomorrow, and getting out our software, our marketing platform, and then we have gotten a number of individuals who have owned Teslas for a number of years, and some of them actually have a business where they rent out their Teslas. And so they're what we call advisors. They're going to be our Drivyn advisors, and they're going to link up with clients who want to learn more about their Tesla. And we've got different courses available from beginning to advanced, and even a course for those people who don't have a Tesla and just want the Tesla experience. So we want to take them through it, train them right from the get-go. So when they do get their Tesla, if they decide what type of Teslas that they want, they can have that experience even before they purchase a Tesla. And so our first city is Las Vegas, and so we have a team of advisors set up, and we're gonna go ahead and let the public know, focusing on Tesla owners, that we're available if they need training, if they'd like training, if they'd like to basically hone their skills in some way. We're here available. Part of the marketing strategy is to be able to go to these charging stations and talk to people, hand out our flyers, and just let people one-on-one know what we're doing. We're actually going on the social networks, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, letting people know. And also we've made good inroads with the Tesla Owners Club. I think that's really important, really getting into the culture of the industry. And so we get them to get the word out. We're sponsoring Tesla Owners Club in one event and getting our name out there.
What event is that?
This is actually going to be the event for our major launch. It's in San Luis Obispo, and that event is called Taking Over California. So Tesla Taking Over California expects to be about 500 Teslas coming from all over California, and I'm assuming that people even from Nevada, from Oregon, from Washington are going to be there. And basically, it's the largest event I believe that's ever held or been held for the owners groups of Teslas. These are enthusiasts who are very excited about letting other people know about their Teslas. They want to get the word out, and we feel that this is exactly the right place to be, to not only get our advisors on board, getting people who are interested in teaching people how to use their Teslas better, but also to get the clients.
So your business actually is a distributed training system where you're connecting up the customers with what do you call them? Not instructors,
Advisors.
Advisors. Yes.
Yeah.
So clients with advisors. Yes, it's a peer-to-peer marketplace model. As you know, just like Uber or Turo or Airbnb, that's the model. Basically, it's connecting the client, the person that needs a service, with a person that can provide a service directly without any intermediary people. And then they can search for somebody in their local area. They meet up independently and then go through our course. And we have a course that we've designed that's meant to standardize and streamline the training experience.
So everybody's on the same page, so to speak, right? The advisors are teaching at the basic level. They all teach these things, sign that off, right? Is that how that works?
Yes, and so so there is a certain amount of instruction that's required, or that we feel that people need to master, and then depending on the individual, some are more experienced than others, some have more interest in certain things and other things. So there is some flexibility there, but there is certainly a standard that they have to follow.
How do you qualify your advisors to become a Drivyn advisor certified person?
Well, since this has never been done before, it's we had to kind of come up with different ways of making sure that they're qualified. So first of all, we have a training session for the advisors. So the advisors get their training as well, making sure that they understand our curriculum. We require them to have had a Tesla for at least a year, because we feel that it takes about a year for somebody to feel completely comfortable in understanding what's going on, especially since everybody's self-taught at this point. I have to say, in the beginning, Tesla was training people. From what I understand, about 4 years ago, people were going through like an hour course. And so I think those people were more comfortable than the people later on, because Tesla just took off, and I can understand that's not their business to fully train people. And it takes time. It does take time to learn this. And so, and then we do have some tests that we give them, make sure that they understand the material. And then we pre-qualify them every 6 months. And not only that, but they get ratings by their clients. So their clients let us know if their advisors are up to speed, if they're people that they want to come back to. And so they give them ratings, and that's how we decide every 6 months we would be reevaluating. And obviously, if things happen in between, then we'll have to evaluate, just like any HR department. So we want to make sure, obviously, that we have trained professionals and people that do reflect our brand well and are ambassadors to our brand.
In doing my research for this podcast, I looked at the horse and buggy period of time historically, and men and women have been on horseback for many thousands of years. But when Model T Ford came into mass production, it changed the landscape of personal transportation. And schools popped up everywhere, because a person that knows how to do the reins on a horse doesn't maybe know how to do the car, and all the ins and outs of the vehicle and the crank. I was talking to Steve the other day about the crank, that sometimes it would backfire and break a leg, break an arm, So we, as humans, as a race, made a big jump in transportation. Now, and of course, you get the inventions along the way, the radio, the wipers, and all the other things. But you don't need a school to learn how to turn on a radio or turn on your wipers, for sure. And then as I was reading along, I realized that the current vehicles, the Tesla, are kind of vehicle centric. In other words, you can have cruise control, and Steve and I worked together when I got my first cruise control ever, and it would go up and down the hill, but it wouldn't sense anything. Now we're really in a different world. Do you want to elaborate about what's changed with that?
That's a great point. I think it brings to bear exactly what's happening these days. This new technology is a leap forward. There's no question about it. It's a revolution in technology, a revolution in the way we drive and the way we're going to be driving in the future. And it requires brand new instincts, brand new intuition about what's going to happen ahead of you. You have to kind of pay attention to what the vehicle is doing and how it's moving. It's almost like riding a bicycle. You've got to kind of balance it out and really understand the instrumentation more, just like a pilot would. And And so it's a whole different experience. And not only that, but even just mechanically, the car functions differently. You can drive it like a regular car. There's no question at this point. Uh, just like, with the two-pedal car, it used to be cars were three pedals back in the 50s, right? The clutch, the brake, and the gas pedal, the accelerator. Then it went to basically a two-pedal car with the automatic transmission. And I say now we're actually in an era where we're a one-pedal car, or a no-pedal car. You can drive this car without an accelerator pedal. You don't call it a gas pedal anymore because you're not putting gas. It's an accelerator pedal. And so you can drive this vehicle with one pedal because the braking system is built into the one pedal. When you let off the accelerator, the car slows down and generates electricity at that point. So the generator actually slows down the car, and so you don't need to use your brakes very often. Only in emergencies. Only if you're just driving too fast and you got to make a quick turn. But otherwise, I would say 98% of the time I drive the car with one pedal or no pedal. Once you can actually get the car started without touching the pedal. You can do everything without the pedal as well. And it's not that I recommend that, but there's a whole transition that needs to occur in the way we perceive how we drive, and so this is a revolution. And so with that comes a need to train people, a need to instruct people on what's the best way to be able to learn and best way to be able to maximize your potential in driving the car the way I say it's meant to be driven.
And one of the big jumps that looked to me, engineering wise, is it actually is reaching out and seeing what's around it, calculating speeds and distance of other things, which cruise controls don't do, so it's becoming more eco-centric or environmentally centric. It notices everything around it and starts to make decisions for you. Now that's new. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, and the way I look at it is that when we drive ourselves and we're fully manual, we have to do every tiny little calculations, millions and billions of calculations a second we do, and to look at the road, the curves, all the little things that are around us, the cars around us. We constantly have to work hard to make sure that we understand the environment around us. The car doesn't help us there. The car just does what we tell it to do, and we have to make that decision. Now, the new technology is really a computer on wheels. It looks throughout the environment, and it makes these millions and billions of calculations per second for you. And so all the little things that it can really do well, it's amazing how much energy it saves you. And you find that you're a lot more relaxed, you're a lot less tired at the end of the road, at the end of your trip. And what you focus on is the major things. You want to focus on some main things that the car still can't do well on its own. And there are a number of things we teach you to make sure that when these situations occur, that you need to make sure that you are aware of what is happening around you to make sure that the vehicle is going to do the right things that it should be doing. It doesn't always do that, unfortunately. It's 99.99% accurate, but what about the 0.01%? What one time out of an hour is too much, right? So you need to be aware of those situations that will require some kind of an intervention. And just like cruise control, you said, it's very easy to take over. It's just like, cruise control, you just touch the brake, tap the brake, and now you take full control. With this, you just tap the brake, take full control, or you can actually, there's something on the steering wheel in the Model 3 that you can actually pull up on, which I use all the time. Just pull up on it, take full control. Or if you just break the steering wheel a little bit, you can just disengage the steering wheel and take full control. So there's a number of ways, depending on the situation, where you can have complete control, just like cruise control will. And I find it extremely safe and enjoyable driving, not only in the freeways where like I said, most of the time I drive in the freeways with full self-driving package, but even on the city streets, it makes it very nice. I do have a story about cruise control. Something, if you have time for that,
Please tell
I think
us.
it's kind of ironic. Yesterday, I had to get my Forerunner serviced, and we live about 45 minutes on the California-Oregon border, so we have to go over beautiful summit, beautiful hills, about 5,500 feet. So we go from about 2,000 feet to 5,500 feet on the main thoroughfare in California, the Highway 5. I'm sure most people know that one. And so I, for the first time, really in about a year, we usually take a Tesla, but for the first time in a year, I actually took my Forerunner up on the freeway, over the pass. And so I tend to speed when I do that, and I've actually gotten tickets, unfortunately. And so I said I don't want to speed because there's, there are some areas there that certainly get the troopers. And so I went ahead and put it on cruise control. I didn't realize how difficult it would be for me to readapt to cruise control. As I was driving up the hill, we've got a lot of trucks that go up in this corridor, and so I was driving up the hill in cruise control. I set it at about 67, a little bit over the speed limit, and as we start climbing, the trucks start slowing down, right? And my car starts speeding up. It seems like it's speeding up. It's just keeping the same speed. And all of a sudden, I'm just whipping close to this truck, just speeding up towards this truck, and I just had to, just tap the brake to undo it, and then I was kind of trapped between a truck and another car on my left, when I was on cruise control. So I kept on having to engage and disengage the cruise control. It was a lot of work. It was one of those things that I just didn't realize how much effort cruise control requires.
Yeah.
I guess you can say I've been spoiled, but technology is just so advanced now that it makes it so relaxing, because with the autopilot or full self-driving package, if there's a truck that slowing down in front of you and you're going the same speed, if it's safe, it'll just change lanes and just go around the truck, or if there's a car on your side and you can change lanes, then it'll just slow down and speed up with the truck. And so it does all that for you, and that's just something that actually you can trust pretty well with the Tesla. I haven't found any situation ever where it does not slow down properly when you're speeding up towards another vehicle, or trying to go into somebody's lane when there's somebody even on your blind spot. It won't let you do it. It just doesn't do it until they pass or until they slow down, and you're able to change it. I should say, when the Tesla is able to change lanes and
change lanes, right?
Yeah, right.
I've also heard talk a little bit about the safety aspect, that in fact this is probably one of the most safe vehicles on the road. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I mean, certainly from experience, I find that I believe it's so much safer because, like I said, that as a driver, you have to do so much less work. You have to do what's the right word to say? You have to do less work, and it's less exhausting to drive. So I find it a lot safer in that respect. But Bloomberg did a survey, I think, of hundreds of thousands of people, and 28% said that autopilot has saved them from a dangerous situation. And interestingly enough, 13%, only 13% said that they thought that the autopilot had put them in a dangerous situation. And that's shouldn't be understated, because yes, the technology is definitely still not there completely. And that's where we feel Drivyn comes in, to make sure that people understand the technology and make sure that they understand what can go wrong, and it will go wrong, because it's not quite there yet. And I think it's going to be a long while until it's 100% safe, because it has to be 100% safe. It can't be a 0.001% of likelihood of having a problem. It has to be 100% safe without any question at all. And that's a ways away, and many people think it might never happen, but we'll have to see. But I certainly believe it's at least 5 to 10 years away.
I read one account, and Steve, you've been up through the San Joaquin Valley when the 00 fog is up there and they pile up, 20, 30 cars, and you just drive right into them, boom. And one, I think it was an elder gentleman, had it on autopilot, and all of a sudden started braking and pulled off to the right. And as he looked forward, here was a semi-tractor trailer rig, jackknife, 22 cars, and the Tesla pulled over and said, "Hey, I'm going to make this safe." And he said it saved his life. And my oldest daughter had a Lexus, and she was up in the, I guess because all the fires that they had there up in Vacaville, Steve, she took her and her son and her mom up into the foothills to have a hotel. And she hit a deer and completely totaled her Lexus. And I said, well, if you'd had a Tesla, that wouldn't have happened. So guess what? She's looking to buy a Tesla. So they're running into a deer in a lot of places like Pennsylvania and stuff like that, where they have a lot of deers. And I've seen video from Teslas seeing a deer, and it thought it was a pedestrian, but it still did the right thing. Started to move around it. And then when the deer came across it, moved around the other way, and then realized the deer's in the middle of the road. It's just stopped, off to one side safely. And so it's quite the vehicle. Steve, you have any questions?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sam. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, actually, because we have a hard time visually to detect cars ahead of us when it's foggy or when it's raining. And I find that the Tesla is much more accurate than I can be. It actually senses that there's cars, or I wouldn't say, maybe not senses, but it detects vehicles or obstacles up to 100 yards away in front of you. And so it's very important. I find actually a lot more comforting to know, because I go up the pass and down the pass many times, and fog is really the scariest thing for me. It's not even the snowing, it's the fog and the visibility. And I find that the Tesla actually detects things much quicker than I do. And but it's hard, because I know my wife has a really hard time. The second she comes up on fog, she takes it off with autopilot because she doesn't trust it yet. Those are the kinds of things we have to teach people and train people, when you can trust your Tesla, when it can actually do a better job than you can do to detect things around you.
Steve, you have any more questions before we bring this into a close?
Well, I was just going to ask more about the business side of the things here. And so what are you doing to get your advisors and to get clients?
Certainly. So the advisors, we talked to Tesla owners. Part of the survey that we did, we went to Tesla owners groups and meetups, and we talked to them. We asked them to do the survey, and then we also asked them, "Are you interested in teaching people?" So right there, got a whole pool of people that are enthusiasts who are interested in instructing, and many of them said, "Yes, absolutely, I would love to." So that's one place. Another one is I just look for people who actually rent their Teslas out. So people who rent their Tesla, they have a business around Tesla, and I just call them up. I find their name and are actually a lead advisor right now. I actually found their website. I called them up and I said, how you doing? I'm putting together a business around Teslas. I'd love to sit down and have a talk. And they're business people. They understand, about Tesla. They understand about the need, and they were very excited.
The not to jump in over the top of you there, Steve, but you're developing an app too where people can sign up, get qualified, and I think the instructors, if a client signs up for a class and pays, the instructor gets notification and they get a majority of that cash flow. Do you want to talk a little bit about the cash flow model, incentive model for the advisors?
Yeah. So at this point, the advisor gets 40% of the revenue. We have distribution for others. We want to support the owner club, so we want to give a percentage to the owner clubs. We find that's an important PR and an important things for the clubs. They need monies to run also, and so we think that is an excellent way to bring them on board and to have them participate in really what we're doing. So 10% also we give to a driving school in the state to work with the driving schools. Not that we're driving instructors, but we felt that it's important for us to link up with that community as well. And instead of being competitors, we want to be allies, because there certainly is a threat. Just like Uber takes business away from taxi cabs, and Turo takes away business from rent-a-car companies, and Airbnb takes business away from hotels. There certainly is some animosity there, and so we wanted to start out with working as allies with the driving school, because in essence we are bringing to the industry another segment that is not there. So we bring another revenue stream to the industry, and so we want to make sure that they understand that we're not there to compete against them. We're there to actually increase their ability to be able to get a bigger share of the market.
Yeah, that's excellent. Also, one of the strategic things I read, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but most people have the impression that Teslas are 100,000 plus car. Well, certainly certain models are, but the Model 3, which is the most popular one, is starting out in the area of $37,000, which is certainly in the mainstream of a lot of other vehicles, of gas vehicles of choice. You want to talk about the economics of how they're coming down and being much more competitive, or more competitive than gasoline?
That's about half the
I
price
think,
of a pickup truck these days.
Is that right? I didn't know that. Huh.
Yes, absolutely. So that's one of Tesla's business plans, from what I've seen, is that they want to bring vehicles to the mass market for people to be able to afford. And the Model 3 was the first one of its kind to be able to do that, with price ranges 38,000 to start, by 37. It goes up and down a little bit. It's interesting because Tesla has a way of just changing the prices here and there, but they're depending on where you live. Of course, there's some incentives also to give people rebates, and certainly it's a little more expensive, I think, than the general car, the average vehicle that people can afford. But overall, the maintenance is less. Obviously the gas, especially these days, is much less. It depends if you have solar. If you have solar, like we put solar on our house, electricity doesn't cost us anymore. to charge. So there's a lot of savings in other areas as well. And so over time, there's no question, competition, the technology improves, becomes less expensive, and everything is heading towards the mass market. But I think the average person, certainly, I think, can afford to lease or purchase a Model 3 now. And they just came out with Model Y about a year ago, and that's the one that's actually going to take over. It's more of a hatchback. It's almost exactly like a Model 3. It just has a hatchback. I think a lot of people prefer that than a sedan, which the Model 3 is.
All right, Steve, any more questions at all? Any last thoughts?
No, I think he covered things pretty well.
Sam, would you be willing to come back on another podcast? I'd like to get into a little bit of the instructional aspect that you're offering.
Well, you guys were friendly enough. I'm sure I can find some time.
Okay, good. All right, guys. Well, have a good day, and I'll let you all know when this is up and going. So say good night, Steve.
Good night. Thanks for having us.
All right. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate
Good
you
night. Thank you.
taking the time. All right, guys, hang on.